Hi, David Friedman with MJIC Media here in Las Vegas at the Marijuana Investor Summit, Growth Capital Conference. I'm joined here today by William Waldrop of Signal Bay.
Pleasure to be here.
OTC publicly traded company, ticker symbol is?
SGBY.
SGBY. Tell us a little bit about your business platform. What do you do and how are you trying to monetize the cannabis space?
Absolutely. Well, Signal Bay is an expert services organization, specialized in three areas: consulting, compliance, and analytical testing. Lori Glauser, my president and COO, and myself have a 25-year background in management consulting, helping entrepreneurs kind of start the business from concept through fruition, through the growth cycle, through maturity. Lori previously worked for the likes of Ernst & Young, IBM, has a strong operational mindset. So we introduced into the cannabis industry in 2014, assisting a number of applicants in Nevada through the entire licensing process. Kind of got the edge, if you will. We were very successful. 100% of applicants received their provisional license.
Terrific, congratulations.
And in August of 2014, we said it's time to go all in, and kind of decided to form Signal Bay. We looked at kind of a growth strategy.
So the companies that you consulted with, it's just the consulting, or do you have actually equity interests in the licenses that were awarded here in Nevada?
In Nevada, we were doing consulting only.
Okay.
Yeah, initially it was just consulting services only. We were partnered with Leslie Boxcore with Waldrop Partners.
I know Leslie well.
So and he's now one of our advisors on Signal Bay.
Awesome.
And so we formed Signal Bay in August of 2014 and started to build a platform. One of the key learnings we learned through the process was there was very little data out there. So we started to aggregate data. We built a platform called Canna IQ, kind of a business-to-business information portal. And through this process, we started collecting researchers and scientists and started to aggregate this information. And then we started to look at how do we monetize it? How do we start to really take this to the next level? And we said, well, our fundamentals is consulting. So we said, well, let's start building what we defined as our cannabis consulting marketplace. And this allows two things to happen. One is businesses who are looking for experts can come to us and say, look, I'm looking for an expert in packaging, labeling, extractions. At the same time, we have over 500 interested consultants who we've used many times in our marketplace that we can pull at a moment's notice. And we just recently used that in the Maryland licensing process. We brought in 3 PhDs, 14 operational experts who helped us through the entire process of helping out clients in Maryland. And that's kind of going to the second part of our business. We do consulting, compliance. Compliance really is 2 points. One, licensing. How do we help companies license, get licensed in the states they're operating in? And then compliance. How do they keep their license, maintain their license?
Right.
From a provisional
Because you need life after that provisional licensing. Right?
Absolutely.
The 23 states online, and you're not going to continue to be able to just apply for licenses.
Absolutely. So, and Maryland was unique. Maryland was very similar to Nevada, whereas they had a limited number of dispensary applications, a limited number of grower applications, and a somewhat limited number of processor applications. Very different though than Nevada. Nevada came at it from the perspective of, do you have your land, do you have your team, do you have your money? Maryland came at it from the perspective of, do you have the knowledge in order to succeed in this industry?
So more merit-based?
Much more merit-based.
Yeah.
So we would work with our partners, our teams, and complement their internal resources with experts from the field. And in some cases, some of these experts are now being targeted to come onto their teams, hopefully upon successful awarding of those licenses.
Got it. Terrific. So the decision to go public, how did that come about? When did it come about? Why go that route versus private?
Absolutely. Question I get lots of times.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Early on, we looked at really building the platform. We knew it was going to be capital intensive, specifically trying to build a business-to-business portal. We know that the demand for information research was going to have a long curve of acceptance. And we knew the portal itself was going to take a lot of capital. So we looked at it from the perspective of, could we go private or public? We decided to go public due to the fact that of relationships we have for raising capital, being able to have some liquidity for those investors, and showing that from a proven track record that we can be successful in this marketplace doing that.
So access to that liquidity and access to that public market capital. But we've had some conversations about the whole reverse merger strategy, and there's a right way to do it and a wrong way to do it. And arguably, my opinion is the right way to do it is the way that Signal Bay is doing it. Talk a little bit about reporting versus non-reporting and pink sheets versus, that stuff. I think the viewers would be interested in hearing how you've approached that and why, you made the decisions to do it in a manner that I think, speaks to the integrity of the firm.
Well, thank you. In August of last year, as you know, we kind of came out of that small cap crash, if you will.
Right.
The issues in the industry, the speculation, understanding what's going on. So we made the decision from day one we were going to become fully reporting. And so we first did a significant amount of due diligence finding a company to acquire an existing shell. And we were very fortunate.
Not easy.
Not easy.
Got to look at a
Spend
lot
many
of
months
stuff.
looking
Yeah.
at them, and fortunately we found a very existing shell, been around for 25 years.
Had you had experience in the reverse merger business before through consulting, or was it just?
One of my advisors, a very close friend, has been in the business for 10 years.
Okay.
Using his guidance, advisory skills, we were able to identify a shell and go through the
A clean
process.
shell.
A clean shell, exactly. I mean, I did previously was president CEO of a publicly traded company.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So the public stuff didn't scare you.
Public
Scares
stuff
the
wasn't
hell
new,
out of
no.
me. I mean,
No, it wasn't new, but so we looked at it, how we understand the costs associated with staying public. So finding a very good, SEC accounting firm, SEC attorney firm was challenging, but finding the right ones that enjoy working with entrepreneurs was kind of the key to our success.
Sure.
And so we've now finishing up on our fourth quarter of operations. I have a exciting aspect of doing my K now.
Yeah, right.
So year end is 9:30, a little earlier than most.
Right.
But yeah, it's been an exciting ride. But what it's allowed us to do is tell a story.
Yeah.
And that's somewhat different. When those folks who aren't reporting, things happen in the background. You ask why. Well, I
Right.
want everyone to know, every single investor to know why things are happening for us and what our plan is and where we're at today, and what our goals and objectives are for going forward.
And reporting's voluntary. It's not required, right? I mean, you don't have to report. You can go as a non-reporting company
We could
and you
change
still
our status,
can trade.
yeah. But from our perspective and being able to raise capital in this marketplace, we need to become fully reporting.
I couldn't agree more. But I want to illustrate to the viewers that
Absolutely.
reporting is voluntary. A company doesn't have to report. The decision to report is costly, it's cumbersome, it's time consuming, and doing that involves a tremendous amount of effort and energy and not something to be taken lightly. I mean,
Absolutely correct.
we have the marijuana index and we actually track the non-reporting companies, and there's a significant volume of them. Some of them have decent market caps, but to me it's always been curious that people can invest in non-reporting, publicly traded companies that are over-the-counter stocks that have no oversight, no guidance, but yet if you're not an accredited investor and your next door neighbor who's your best friend has a fabulous business idea, you can't invest in a private placement, right? And so understanding the difference between reporting and non-reporting is something that's really vital to an investor who's going to dabble in the public markets and especially in the cannabis markets. Yeah.
Absolutely, I do agree with you 100%.
Talk a little bit about your business strategy. Consulting is a fairly dense portion of the cannabis industry. A lot of people have dipped their toe in, a lot of people have pulled back. What is it about your product, so to speak, right, that's different? Who do you see out there that is competitive, and how do you stand apart from them, and what are the things that you think you guys are doing different to succeed in this industry?
Yeah, from a consulting side, I think the key element here is really identifying the right resources and having a clear team. And it really starts with the foundation in which Lori and I have laid out a plan every time we go after a client or go after bring on new clients. We know it's a very competitive marketplace. Companies from Forefront Advisors to Green Rush, all great companies, all great leaders.
Right.
And everyone has a different level of expertise in the industry. And we are looking for what is that right niche for us to fit in. And we've identified that niche.
What is it?
Our niche is really helping those small entrepreneurs who are looking to get into the industry, who need that hand-holding from the beginning to the end, who have that, who need that expertise, who need someone to come in and help them fill in the voids in their own organization. If it's a dispensary owner, they might have a great clinical director, but they don't have a retail operator. If it's a grower, they might have someone who is a great grower, but they don't have any operational experience running the back of the house. So our goal is to kind of fill in those voids where a company is missing in the early stages, so they can be much more successful longer term.
So on a theoretical basis, you can fulfill the whole continuum of those support services, but on a factual and an actual basis, you're filling in for whatever that gap might be within an organization.
Absolutely, correct.
Yeah. And so I would imagine that one of the key ingredients to a client fitting is they've got to be coachable. I mean, I've been in the consulting business before, and a lot of times you run into clients who want to hire you as a consultant, but then they don't want to listen to what you tell them to do.
Correct.
And there's nothing worse, right? So how do you go about finding clients that meet that criteria? And has it been easy, or do you find in the cannabis industry that everybody thinks they know what they're doing, and it's difficult to find clients that are compatible?
It's both. It hasn't been easy. But we do go through a process. I guess from a company perspective, we want to help those companies that want to help themselves. That's how I look at life.
Right.
And those who are looking for advice, looking for guidance. I'm not trying to run their company, but I'm trying to help them. And those are the ones who are looking for advice and guidance and support are the right partnerships. They're clients that have passed on in the past.
Sure.
And it's not a matter about money for me. It's about finding that relationship because it's building not only a short-term but a long-term relationship.
Well, it's got to be sustainable. I mean, otherwise you're just churning clients, and that's expensive.
Very much so. Very much so.
Yeah, interesting. So in terms of the future, obviously I know you can't project earnings and things like that, but talk about where you want to go, what you want to do. Right now it's primarily just you and Lori. You've got a contingency of consultants that you bring in on a project by project basis. How do you want to build the company? What are you looking to do? If somebody wants to invest in your company, what should they know about what Signal Bay is going to accomplish in the next few years? You know, earnings aside.
Absolutely,
things
of course. Well, David, really where Signal Bay is going is we're an expert services organization. So as I mentioned before, we have consulting, compliance, and analytical testing. Analytical testing is really where I see the future.
Yeah.
Not that consulting is going to go away, but the model for testing is changing. You know, early stages in Colorado and Washington, it was testing on the front end, but no ongoing rigorous batch level testing. You know, Nevada, Massachusetts, some of the first states that implemented batch mandated testing. Nevada's a little slower to the curve due to just some delays in the legislative process.
It's still coming out, yeah.
But if you look at Oregon, look at California, AB 266, look what Maryland's doing. They're all mandating independent testing facilities and testing at levels of 5 or 10 pound batches. We're testing every single batch every single time. So from a public side and trying to grow a business, we're looking at those opportunities where we can start to project revenues and consistently project revenues. So most recently, we acquired an analytical testing company in Bend, Oregon, Analytical Research.
Okay, so you're actually getting into the analytical testing space. You're going to actually acquire facilities, build facilities, whatever it might be.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So Analytical Research, they formed in May of 2014, so they've been in business for about 18 months, serving the medical marijuana market up in Oregon under the guidance of the OHA. Now that Oregon is going full rec, courtesy of Measure 91,
Right.
The Oregon Liquor Control Commission is in the process now of rolling out procedures, guidelines, and as of January 4th of next year, they will start to accept license applications for recreational dispensaries, cultivators, processors, distributors, analytical testing. And the nice thing about Oregon is they're going to actually have a research license that's available.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I didn't
so
know
it'll
that.
be available for 1-year interim periods in which be able to actually do actual research studies where you're not have to be affiliated with an educational institution.
So you're heavy in the M&A phase
We're
right
definitely
now?
looking at M&A. So we've completed the acquisition of Analytical Research.
Is that your first acquisition?
That is our first complete third-party acquisition.
Okay.
We have a memorandum of understanding right now with the second analytical testing lab in Oregon.
Okay.
And we will be bringing on a new chief science officer once that completes. And then we are now looking at opportunities in California. Even though AB 266 isn't scheduled to come out for a few years, there's a lot of companies in California that are looking to start applying to the standards of independent authoritative testing.
Right, and I think the consumer demand is going to
Absolutely.
force that to happen anyway. So
Absolutely.
you know,
So yeah, so our goal is really to continue to kind of grow both models, continue on the consulting side, and then continue to expand the analytical testing aspects of it. I mean, if I put a name out there, I'd like to become the Quest Diagnostics of cannabis. We have
good goal.
independent testing facilities, you know, throughout initially the West, and then we'll continue to move as, of course, states become illegal.
Terrific, terrific. Well, William Waldrop with Signal Bay, OTC ticker symbol again.
SGBY
If you want to get in on the action, go give them a visit. Your website
is signalbay.com.
Terrific. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, David. Pleasure.